Welcome everybody, Steve here. Well, we're working on the, these are the sides of the box for our Project 56 Merc. And we basically got two raw sides. Whether he acquired them somewhere, I don't know where. But we got to put some pockets on there, we got to build some, there's a couple filler pieces down here. And first thing I'm doing is doing the holes. Now an original bolt for the side of the box is it's a carriage bolt. I'll show you in a bit when I find one. Anyway, if you don't make a square hole and you tighten it down, it's just going to make the side of your box give her one of these. So we're going to cut a square hole. Now, to do that, I'm going to use my nippers. And this just cuts a square hole. I bought this 25 years ago, I think from it was like an electronics store or something. And there's no name on it, I can't give you any information, but it's just a little nipper and you just put it in the hole, squeeze it, and it cuts a square, or cuts a straight line. So I've got the holes drilled out, one size bigger than 5/16, and then all I do is go underneath, give her one of these. And I find, now that's really close. So I'll just use my little triangle pot. Just like that. Now, I don't know why, but I always use this triangle file to make my square holes. I completely forgot about this little tool. I love this thing. Okay, I've got lots more to do, so I better get at her. So of course these holes weren't marked. So what we did was, instead of measuring each one of them out, we took and cut we had an old box side that was wrecked, so we just cut it out and used it as a template. Now if you're doing this, we gotta concentrate for a second. Now if you're doing this, make sure you don't build both the same because they're different. We got, the front has a little longer spacing than the back does, so you're going to make sure you get your holes in the right place. You only make that mistake once anyway. These nice box sides are for Project Gray. They're new. Still got to put some holes and stuff in there yet, but for Project Merc, we got to build these panels here. They're just kind of a lower filler panel. That's the front of the box side. In the rear, it's got the little one down here. So let's build those. Now I just drew everything out on this, we got some 18 gauge here. I had my pencil. I'll have to search it out. Anyway, I'm just using pencil because I want to make sure they get my lines fairly accurate. We have a notch, and then it's just this is the larger panel. We got a 1-inch lip all the way around. So we'll cut it out and then we'll just use the brake and bend everything up. Now, when you're building these, don't get too far ahead and build two the same because they have to be opposites, one for each side. So that notch has to be on the other side. Just have to remember that. Now I'm just bending this lower one. That looks pretty good. Now before I bent it, I drilled this hole here. So that goes on the bottom of the box side goes like this. And you have to have that hole there so that you can bolt down your wood. So that's a lot easier to do that now. One panel done. This last one here, I'll have to move my brake around, and I've got a bunch other ones to do, so I'm just going to put a piece of metal in here. A chunk of 3/8 laying around. If you didn't have a brake, you could do exactly the same thing. You could just put a piece of metal in there and then bend it over with a hammer. Just take your time with it. Remember, you got all day. Perfect. Well, I'm working on these stay pockets. I think that's what you call them. Not sure. Anyway, I've got an original here, and the key is these two here. We got to make sure that those holes are drilled right, and we got one up at the top that we got to drill. Square it off because that's where the latch for the tailgate goes, the end gate, whatever you want to call it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to weld two nuts on either side. And that will just make it a little easier for assembly. So I got them marked out. These are all made. So we got that done. Now one more thing before you assemble. I just ran my palm sander over top of this because we're eventually going to paint this, so it needs to be prepped. And then we'll just let's weld it on like that. And then we got to put a fender on here to make sure that we get the bolt hole in the right place. Minor. Okay, So I mark these out. I'm gonna center punch them because I want to get them, you know, right on the money. And I've got a couple chunks of wood here to help me with that so I don't bend nothing. So I'll do that. And then we can weld a couple nuts on here. I think what I'll do is do two at the same time so I don't have to think. This is an original one here. Now, what we want to do is we want to weld a nut. So these two here on the back side will be for your bracket, for your light, however it goes. And on the other side, this is going to be for your hinge for your tailgate. So what I want to do is I want to weld a nut on the inside here so that it just makes installation a lot better. And this one here is going to be a through. The bolt goes all the way through, gives it a little bit more stability. So to weld these, I just ground off a little bit of the satin coat here. So we got steel, and the nuts that I use, I actually just go get the black nuts, the ones that have no coating on them at all. I find they work out a little bit nicer. So we'll just tack those up. Now you don't have to sit there and go all the way around. A couple good tacks is all you need. We got one last thing to do before we can clean this up and get it ready for welding. So on the original, there's a little notch right here, and then that little piece kind of disappears. So we got to cut that out of here. Minor. We have to prep these pockets here for welding. Now what I'm going to do is I got a spot welder, I'm going to use that. So I marked where I want to put my spot welds. The originals were pretty random, they were kind of all over the place. And I want to take the coating off of here, so I'll take my flapper disc and just kind of grind a spot. And then I want to coat this with the copper weld through primer, and we will do this over here once I get this all cleaned up. Then I want to take and spray this with copper, that way you know it's protected. I know it's eventually it's going to rust, but we want it to look good for a while. If it stays in the garage, it'll last forever. And then we just have to spot weld this together. She's done. So I'll just give these a bit of a grind, and then we can get on to cleaning this up. Well, it's time to clean these up. You know, it'd be nice to be able to store them somewhere where they're not going to rust, but they always end up outside and get a little rust on them, so we got to clean them up. So I'm going to use my fiber disc. I did a little tiny spot here. Does a really, really nice job. Just pulls that rust right out of there. And then, but it kind of leaves a bit of a polish, so we will sand this after. And then all we have to do is prep these for welding. And I think these box sides are just about done. We're getting there. It was a lot more work than I thought they were going to be. So the fan's going on. I got a little bit of plastic over here. It's going to be really, really dirty. I wished it was summer, because if it was summertime then I'd just open up the door and go, but we're in the middle of the winter time here, so gonna have to just put up with it. I won't be showing you too much. Camera's gonna get a little dirty. I got to prep these little panels up here as well. This little guy goes on the back, just like that. So we're going to spot weld here and here. So I'll just hit this with the grinder, take off the coating, and give her a little shot of copper. Now this is just raw satin coat here, so I want to prep this. And it's way easier to do when it's sitting out here than it is when it's welded in. So I'm going to take the sander. First what I'm going to do is a little wax and grease, clean it up, and then I'm going to sand it before I weld it on. Okay, we got ourselves a little bit of a snag here. So this is my spot welder. The thing is really going to be heavy. I'm either going to work my arms or pull my back out, one or the other. But I can only reach to there. So 2 spot welds I'm going to have to weld. Now I don't want to weld from this side, I want to weld from that side because it's a lot easier to repair. So I drew a line here. We got probably go in about 3/8 of an inch or so. What do we got here? I bought it up, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not a Lamborghini. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just drill 2 1/4 inch holes there, and then I'll weld that from that side. This is one machine I don't use very much. My brother uses it a little bit more than me. Okay, just hold on. Got the cable wrapped around here. There we go. Make sure we're still in. Oh yeah, that looks good. So, he says it works best if you hold it for about 4 or 5 seconds. So let's see what happens. Not really too sure if that worked at all. There we go. I think it's just not making good contact there. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I need to clean her up a little bit. I'm just waiting for it to turn red, and then, there we go. Let's see if she held. Yeah, she seems to be pretty good. No, it didn't hold very well at all. Not liking this. Maybe it's just because of the paint or something. Don't know. No, I'm just not happy with that. I'm just not sure if it's just because of the paint. You know, just because it's just not working. It should weld through this, but it's not. It doesn't make me happy at all. Let me work on this. One thing I did notice I forgot to do, I want to bend this, so I'm going to put a bar across here and bend this up. So, it all worked out. It took quite a while. That's just not holding on good enough for me. No. And that's with it cleaned up on both sides. Maybe this stuff is a little too thick. I just don't have enough power to use the spot welder. Alright, drill some holes. We'll weld them up. Well, I was really hoping to bring you something cool and different today, but I think that this metal, this is about 18 gauge here, and this is 16 gauge here. I just think that it's just a little bit too thick, and I don't think my spot welder is powerful enough to make the weld. So I'm just going to have to drill them out, make some spot welds. That's alright. Well, I got some holes drilled. So now it's time to weld this up. I'm going to be able to sleep a lot better, I think, too. Because now I know that this is really, really on there. So that's all good. So we'll make sure we just clamp each one next to it and just weld her up. I'm going to tack it first, and then I'll work on the other side and do everything all at once, I think. That's going to be nice. Drilled the holes for this side, and nice thing that this goes up against the cab over here, so there's really not much that we have to do to this, and it's going to fit good. So I guess we should probably sand that first. Okay, I'll get right back to you. I'm going to sand this first. We're all sanded. I just want to make sure that she's square here. Yeah, it looks really good. You could come off this lip over here, but no, that's pretty nice. On the other one, it was a little bit out, so you know, just if they bent it a little crooked, then it would never ever square up on this, but it looks really good there. Okay, let's tack this guy. Okay, I did drill some holes here so that we could do some plug welding. These panels got to go on next. Now that we've got these on, we know that we can weld everything up now. So I just want to make sure that we're flush here. And clamp this together. We've got a piece over here so that it's nice and flat. That should be good. We'll tack that on there and see what she looks like. All right, focus. We got a couple more holes to put in. Fender bolts into this panel and into this guy over here. Well, there you have it. One box side, one more to go. It's looking good. We'll finish everything up on the next video. I'm not going to bore you with the next one. It's going to be the same. You know, it's hard to keep your guys' attention as it is. But we'll grind everything up. We have to do a little bit of filling and all that kind of stuff where our grinds are going to be. But other than that, pretty minor. So until next time, thanks for watching. Stay tuned.